There are moments in time when heaven seems closer, when the presence of God feels more real, and when the human heart is drawn to something greater than itself. November 9 is one of those days. It carries a quiet spiritual weight, a sense that something divine is waiting to happen for those who are awake enough to notice. It is not about superstition or coincidence. It is about divine alignment. There are seasons when God invites His people to pause, reflect, and reconnect. November 9 is a moment like that, a day to realign your spirit, to prepare your heart, and to open yourself for what God wants to do next in your life. Every day may look the same on the calendar, but in the spiritual realm, some days are marked with purpose. God often sets aside certain times as turning points, calling you to come closer. Sometimes you feel this in your spirit before you even realize it in your mind. There's a stirring, a sense that something inside you wants renewal, a deep desire for peace, direction, or confirmation. November 9 is that kind of day. It's an appointed time to pray, to listen, and to say yes to what heaven is preparing. On this day, your prayers carry special weight because your heart is in a place of readiness. When you slow down to seek God sincerely, you tune your soul to His frequency. The noise of the world fades for a moment, and you can finally hear the whisper of His guidance. This day invites you to put everything aside, the worry, the endless to-do lists, the distractions, and simply be still before Him. In that stillness, spiritual clarity is born. You begin to see what truly matters, and suddenly your life starts to align with divine purpose. November 9 is not about the number or the date itself. It is about the opportunity. It is a spiritual checkpoint, a reminder that time is sacred and that each day can either draw you closer to your destiny or keep you drifting away from it. God uses specific moments like these to remind you that life is short, that every prayer counts, and that every act of faith moves you forward. When you treat a day like November 9 with reverence, you signal to heaven that you are ready for change, that you are open for transformation, that you want more of God and less of yourself. Sometimes people wait for miracles without realizing that miracles often begin with a moment of surrender. November 9 is that moment. It is a day to let go of what's been holding you back, fear, regret, anger, or confusion, and step into a fresh beginning. It is a day to trust again, even if you've been disappointed. It is a day to believe again, even if life hasn't gone your way. Because every time you choose faith over frustration, you position yourself for divine favor. So when this day arrives, don't treat it as ordinary. Wake up with expectation. Speak gratitude before anything else. Pray with a heart that believes God is listening. Set intentions for your life that align with His will. Say, Lord, I am ready for what you have prepared for me. And then move through the day with peace, knowing that something spiritual has already begun. November 9 is not just another Sunday. It is a doorway to a new chapter, a sacred pause in time where heaven waits for you to respond. Use it wisely, because this day can mark the beginning of everything you've been praying for. Prayer is not just a habit or a ritual. It is a direct conversation with heaven. It is the invisible bridge between the human heart and the heart of God. When a person prays with sincerity, something shifts in the unseen world. Prayer has the power to open doors that effort alone cannot. It has the ability to move mountains that logic says are immovable. The power of prayer is not found in the length of the words spoken, but in the faith behind them. It is faith that turns a simple sentence into a key that unlocks divine response. When you pray, you are not sending empty words into the air. You are releasing a call that heaven hears, honors, and answers in its perfect time. God designed prayer as the channel through which His people connect with Him. It is how the human and the divine meet. Every whisper, every tear, every moment of silence in prayer carries weight. Even when you think God is silent, He is listening. The truth is, heaven never ignores a praying heart. Sometimes the answer comes quickly, sometimes it takes time, and sometimes it comes in a form you didn't expect. But prayer always draws a response because it touches the core of who God is. A father who loves to communicate with his children. There are moments in life when strength runs out, when plans fail, and when nothing seems to work. It's in those moments that prayer becomes your greatest weapon. Prayer doesn't just change circumstances, it changes you. It strengthens your faith, calms your spirit, and refocuses your heart on what truly matters. When you pray, you realign your soul with God's will. You step out of the chaos of your own understanding and into the peace of divine control. You begin to trust that even if you don't see how, God is still working on your behalf. The power of prayer lies in its ability to activate heaven's resources. When you pray, you are not begging, you are partnering with God. You are giving Him permission to intervene, to guide, to heal, and to open doors in your life. Every time you bow your head, you're saying, God, I trust you more than my situation. And that act of trust releases spiritual authority. Heaven responds to faith, not fear. The moment you shift from worrying to praying, you step into alignment with God's power. Many people underestimate prayer because they expect immediate results, forgetting that prayer is also about timing. God hears every word, but He answers according to His perfect plan. Sometimes He delays because He is protecting you from something you can't see yet. Sometimes He says no because He has something better waiting. And sometimes He says wait because your heart needs to grow before you can handle what you're asking for. The power of prayer is not just in the answer. It's in the relationship it builds while you wait. When heaven responds, it doesn't always make noise. Sometimes the answer is peace in the middle of confusion. Sometimes it's strength to face what hasn't changed yet. And sometimes it's a miracle that shifts everything overnight. But one thing is always true: prayer never returns empty. Every sincere prayer plants a seed in the spiritual realm, and in time, that seed bears fruit. So, when you pray, do it with expectation. Speak to God as if He's right beside you, because He is. Believe that your words reach the throne of heaven. Let prayer become your first response, not your last resort. Because the moment you pray in faith, heaven begins to move. And that movement, unseen but unstoppable, is what transforms lives, heals hearts, and opens doors that no one else can. True freedom begins the moment you stop fighting for control and start trusting God completely. The prayer of surrender is one of the most powerful prayers a person can ever speak, because it breaks the chains of fear, pride, and self-dependence. When you say, "Lord, not my will, but yours be done," you are not giving up, you are giving over. You are letting the one who sees the whole picture guide you through the pieces you don't understand. Surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the realization that your strength has limits, but God's strength has none. Life often feels like a constant battle to hold everything together. Your plans, your relationships, your future, your identity. You try to manage every outcome, fix every problem, and carry every burden, but that only leads to exhaustion and anxiety. The truth is, you were never meant to carry all that weight alone. God didn't design you to live in constant tension. He designed you to live in trust. The prayer of surrender releases you from that heavy burden. It's the moment you say, "God, I can't do this without you, and I don't want to." And in that moment, you find peace, the kind of peace that no plan or possession could ever give you. When you surrender, you allow God to rewrite your story according to His perfect plan. Often, we think we know what's best for us, but our vision is limited. We see only what's in front of us. God sees the end from the beginning. There are times when what you think is a loss is actually protection, and what feels like delay is divine preparation. The prayer of surrender says, "Even when I don't understand, I trust you." That level of faith invites heaven's guidance. It transforms confusion into clarity and pain into purpose. Surrender also brings freedom from fear. Fear thrives on the illusion of control. When you're afraid, you cling tighter to things, people, outcomes, security. But when you release them to God, fear loses its grip. You begin to walk lighter, think clearer, and breathe easier. You realize that you are not the one holding your life together. God is, and He has never failed. Surrender doesn't mean you stop caring, it means you stop carrying. It means you hand your struggles to the one strong enough to carry them all. Sometimes surrender happens in silence. It's not always dramatic. It can be as simple as sitting in prayer and whispering, "I let go." It's that quiet moment when tears fall and you stop arguing with destiny. You stop resisting what God is trying to teach you. You stop running from what He's trying to build in you. You allow Him to prune what no longer serves your growth, even if it hurts for a while. In surrender, you find healing because you finally make room for God to work. The freedom that follows surrender is unlike anything else. It's not about having everything figured out. It's about being free from the need to. You begin to live with trust instead of tension, with peace instead of panic. You realize that your job is obedience, not control. God doesn't ask you to understand every detail. He asks you to trust His hand. So when life feels overwhelming and your plans fall apart, remember the power of the prayer of surrender. Let your words be simple but sincere. Lord, I give you my plans, my fears, and my future. Take what I can't handle and make it holy. And when you do, you'll discover that the moment you let go is the same moment God takes over. That is where freedom truly begins, not in control, but in surrender. There are moments in life when the soul feels heavy, not because of what is happening around you, but because of what has settled within you. The burdens of guilt, anger, jealousy, disappointment, and regret can quietly take root in the heart, clouding your spirit and dimming your connection with God. That is why the prayer of cleansing is so important. It is not a prayer of asking for things, but of asking to be made whole again. When you pray, "Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me," you are inviting divine purification. You are asking God to wash away everything that blocks your peace, joy, and spiritual clarity. The heart is the center of your spiritual life. Everything you think, say, and do flows from it. When the heart is clean, life feels lighter. When it is burdened, everything feels difficult. A pure heart doesn't mean a perfect heart. It means a surrendered heart, one that allows God to cleanse and renew it daily. We all make mistakes. We all carry wounds. But God never meant for us to live trapped in shame or emotional pain. The prayer of cleansing opens the door for healing. It invites the Holy Spirit to search your heart, reveal what doesn't belong, and replace it with peace. Cleansing begins with honesty. You cannot heal what you refuse to face. When you come before God with sincerity and say, "Lord, I know I've fallen short. I've let anger, pride, or fear control me. Please forgive me." You are not confessing to be condemned. You are confessing to be freed. God doesn't cleanse to punish. He cleanses to restore. His goal is not to remind you of what you've done wrong, but to remind you of who you truly are, His beloved child. The prayer of cleansing also removes spiritual blockages that prevent blessings from flowing. When the heart is weighed down by bitterness or resentment, it becomes difficult to receive the good things God wants to send your way. Forgiveness becomes the tool of freedom. When you forgive others, you release yourself. When you ask God to forgive you, you make room for new beginnings. A clean heart creates space for grace to flow again. It opens your eyes to gratitude, your ears to God's voice, and your spirit to divine direction. This kind of cleansing doesn't always happen in a moment. Sometimes God works layer by layer, gently bringing old wounds to the surface so He can heal them. You may find yourself remembering things you thought you'd forgotten, or feeling emotions you've buried for years. Don't resist that process. That's how God cleanses the heart from the inside out. The pain you feel is not punishment, it's purification. The tears you shed are not weakness. They are washing away what no longer belongs in your soul. A cleansed heart brings clarity. You begin to see life through the eyes of love rather than fear. You start responding with patience instead of anger, compassion instead of judgment. Your prayers become more powerful because they come from a place of truth. The more God purifies your heart, the more you reflect His nature. You become a vessel of peace, a light for others, and a person whose spirit radiates calm even in chaos. So when you feel distant from God, when your peace feels blocked, or when your heart feels heavy, take time to pray the prayer of cleansing. Find a quiet place, close your eyes, and simply say, Lord, cleanse me. Remove what is not of you. Heal what is broken in me. Renew my heart and make me whole again. Feel the weight lifting as you speak those words. That is the power of divine cleansing. It doesn't just change how you feel, it changes who you are becoming. And when your heart is pure, your life begins to shine with the light of heaven itself. There comes a moment in every believer's life when waiting is no longer enough, when the time for preparation turns into the time for action. That is the purpose of the prayer of activation. It is the prayer that moves you from believing to becoming, from hoping to doing. When you pray, Lord, release everything you have for me and give me the courage to step into it. You are asking heaven to awaken the gifts, opportunities, and purpose that have been resting inside you. You are inviting divine movement into areas of your life that have been stuck or silent for too long. Many people pray for blessings, but never ask for activation. They ask for open doors, but never for the boldness to walk through them. The prayer of activation does both. It not only invites God to open the way, it stirs your spirit to move when that way appears. God does not pour power into passive hearts. He releases His strength into those who are ready to act in faith. Prayer without movement leads to frustration, but prayer with obedience leads to transformation. When you say this prayer, you are telling God, I am ready. Use me. Move me. Position me where you want me to be. Activation begins when faith becomes your first response instead of fear. So often, people wait for perfect timing, perfect conditions, or perfect confidence before they take a step. But faith is not about perfection. It's about trust. God doesn't need you to be fearless. He needs you to be willing. The prayer of activation is your declaration that you refuse to let fear decide your future. It is your way of saying, even if I don't have all the answers, I will still move forward because I know who walks with me. When you pray for activation, heaven starts rearranging things around you. God begins to connect you with the right people, create opportunities, and remove distractions that no longer serve your purpose. You may not see it immediately, but the moment you align your heart with obedience, spiritual motion begins. It's like lighting a flame that had been waiting for the spark. Suddenly, ideas start flowing, courage starts growing, and faith begins to move mountains. This prayer also awakens the gifts that God has already placed within you. Every person carries a calling, something planted deep in the soul that only divine power can bring to life. But too often, those gifts stay dormant because of doubt or delay. The prayer of activation breaks that silence. It calls your potential out of hiding. It stirs your talents, your voice, your vision. It says to your spirit, rise up, you were created for more. And when God activates you, He doesn't just give you ability. He gives you authority. You begin to walk differently, speak differently, and believe differently. Divine movement doesn't always mean speed. It means direction. Activation is not about rushing ahead. It's about stepping forward with purpose. Each step you take in faith sends a signal to heaven that you trust God's timing and His plan. Sometimes the first step feels small, but even small steps create big momentum when God is guiding them. Remember, miracles happen not when you stand still, but when you move in obedience. So when you pray the prayer of activation, don't just ask God to move. Ask Him to move through you. Ask Him to light a fire in your soul that pushes you beyond comfort and into calling. Say, Lord, awaken what's been asleep in me. Give me strength to start, faith to continue, and wisdom to finish. And then act on what you prayed. Because once God activates something inside you, nothing can stop it. The doors that once felt locked will open. The dreams that once felt dead will rise. And the life that once felt still will finally move in divine rhythm with God's will.